Morning, everybody. The January 26, 2017 Veterans Land Board meeting will now come to order. First item on the agenda is number 1. After the board has had a chance to review the minutes and assuming no questions or comments, I could entertain a motion to confirm these minutes.
Since I was not here, I won't participate in that motion.
I've reviewed those minutes, and they're correct, so I'd move to affirm those minutes.
I'll go ahead and second that, and the motion carries with 2 votes, 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda is number 2, as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, for the record, Rusty Martin, Chief Investment Officer. This is old school here. This is the way we used to do it all the time. Very interesting. So agenda item number 2 is dealing with interest rates in the programs. We put this on the agenda at every meeting. Sometimes we take action, sometimes we don't. With regard to the housing program today, I'm not going to request any action. Just to briefly remind you that in January, you authorized me to expand the range of the rate setting spread from 35 to 50 to 65 below the benchmark to 25 to 65 in an effort to rein in demand that was very, very high in the program. At that time, we've been very successful in doing that. When we started it was about $88 million a month. Normal would be 50 to 60 a month. We've got that down to below 25 a month right now, which is at the low end of the range. But we recently closed.
We could stand by for a second.
Magnetic personality.
Some would say it's unabrasive.
The board will stand by.
What we're going to do is, I can't fix it, so I'm going to just turn down the speakers. Something in the rack. So although you can't hear yourself, it's still good.
All right, the board will reconvene with our Chief Investment Officer, Rusty Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, as I was saying, we did close on our $250 million Series 2017 bond deal last week, very successfully. And so we have sufficient supply now to meet normal demand through the rest of this year, which normal, again, is around $500 million a year. So we will start easing the spigot back open on the rate spread, and you will see demand start to increase again. By the end of this year, I fully expect that we'll be back on track for a normal demand year. Therefore, I'm not requesting any changes at this time. On the land program, I am requesting that we raise the interest rate in there. As you know, the rate is 6.75% now. It has been at that level since July of 2012. I'm recommending that we raise it to 7.25%. If you look at there should be a page in your packet that has a graph on it that shows a history of the rates over since 1994. And at the bottom of that sheet is a graph of the actual rates, and then those are in green, and in kind of the gold color are the spreads or the amounts that change from rate change to rate change. And as you can see, we're recommending a rate that is in line with what we have had historically in the past. It's a 50 basis point increase. The rate was raised 9 years ago in November of 2007 to 7.25%. And then it was lowered after 4.5 years in July of 2012 to 6.75%. So I'm proposing that we raise it back to 7.25%. It's been 4.5 years now. We've had a very low interest rate environment for quite a long period of time. That is slowly coming to an end, and in fact, The Fed raised rates in December for the first time in many, many years, and that's the first of several raises that are going to come. It's already filtering its way through the Treasury market, most pronounced in the 10-year Treasury rate, which has increased 101 basis points since July of 2012. 10-year Treasury rate is important because that's sort of a benchmark for the mortgage market, so most mortgage rates are set off of that 10-year Treasury. So what I'm proposing is only a 50 basis point increase, even though the mortgage market has moved up about 100 basis points. What this does is it keeps us at market. It keeps us in a range of rates where we're going to be competitive. But it also does something else. Increasing 50 basis points effectively adds $50 million in equity to the program over the next 30 years, which is important because this fund, as you know, subsidizes the Veteran Cemetery Program and has served as a catalyst for a lot of other programs. So anytime we can raise the rate and it's still reflective of market, it's a good, it's a prudent thing to do. And I would note that this only would raise the average borrower's monthly payment by about $19 a month. So it's not going to be catastrophic. Now, in my opinion, it's not going to cause a blip in demand. It's not going to cause a significant sea change in demand. Over the years, we've seen that this program basically is what we call an inelastic program. In other words, the changes in interest rates don't really affect demand that much. However, there could be it would not be unusual for there to be a slight negative effect on demand, at least for the first year or so, until people adjust to the new market. But again, I expect interest rates are going to continue to rise, so at some point we're going to be below market again anyway. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we sell these loans? The land
Well,
loans?
historically, we have not, but when we put this is the mortgage program. It's a land mortgage program. That's all we make now. When we put that program into effect in 2007, the reason for shifting to mortgages was to be able to sell them. So, in fact, we have started marketing. We started marketing the portfolio last year. About late summer, we started marketing the portfolio, and we do have. It was at the time we went out, it was about $240 million. We had several entities look at it, and we actually have a deal with Next Bank in Fort Worth for a portion of that portfolio. We have a purchase agreement signed with them, and they're doing their due diligence now. In fact, they're about halfway through. They're up in Chicago at DMI doing their diligence, and we expect to close that deal within the next 30 to 45 days. That will be the first time ever that we've sold them. Sold the whole loan, yes. Yes, and we expect to. It's the first time we've ever done that, and it's a product that's there's just nothing out there like it. So it's very different for the investors. They have to approach it with a completely new attitude. But we've taken the first step, and we've got some pretty sizable investors that are interested in the portfolio. So we're excited about it. I think on a going forward basis, we'll be able to sell them. It's not quite as easy as pooling housing mortgages into a Ginnie Mae and selling them, because there's a huge market for that. But I'm very excited about the transaction.
Okay.
The rate change does not affect existing loans, correct? This would only apply to new?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this is going to be effective, as the next item I'm going to talk about, will all be effective on Monday for applications received on Monday and going forward. It won't affect anything that's already in the pipeline.
I move we accept your recommendation and raise the rate.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve item number 2.
Thank
Next
you,
item on the agenda is number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. So this sort of goes hand in hand with what we just talked about with regard to rates. We're recommending that you increase the loan limit in the Veterans Housing Assistance Program from its current maximum of $417,000 to $424,100, an odd amount, but I'll explain why. We're also recommending that you increase the loan limit in the land program from $125,000 to $150,000. In the memo, I've got tables that detail the history of the loan limits in both the housing and the land programs over the past few years. What happened was in '99, we increased the loan amount from $45,000 to $150,000, and that was following the passage of legislation that amended Chapter 162 of the Natural Resources Code, which is the statute that controls our housing program, and it provided that the board's maximum loan amount could not exceed the maximum amount allowable for a similar home mortgage loan through the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. At that time, the maximum amount guaranteed through the VA was $203,000. We didn't raise the limit to match that because we had no idea at that time what kind of impact on the program raising it to $150,000 would be. As you can see, beginning in 2012, we actually, for the first time, raised our loan limit to match that of the VA. So what is happening here is in November, I believe, the VA raised their limit slightly to $424,100. So we're just recommending that we increase our limit to match their maximum guaranteed amount. So that's really, there's no programmatic issue there. It's just a ministerial issue. We're just following the trend that we set in 2012 to match the VA's limit. The average loan size is currently $254,000 in the housing program. So I don't think that we can expect any major impact on demand one way or the other with this limit. It's just, again, just a ministerial issue. On the land program, again, I've got a history there, and you can see that we raised the amount in 2015 from $100,000 to $125,000, and we're recommending that we raise it to $150,000 to some extent to help assuage or offset any significant negative impact on the program demand by increasing the interest rate. So it would somewhat offset from a dollar standpoint and possibly from a number standpoint the effects of increasing the rate. However, the average size is about $72,000 in the program now, so I don't think it's going to have much of an impact, but it may have some. So we're recommending that you raise the loan limit in the housing assistance program from $417,000 to $424,100, and in the land program from $125,000 to $150,000. That also would be effective on Monday. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Out of curiosity, is the VA limit at $150,000 in terms of a cap for this program? Because I felt like last time when we raised, we were kind of in the vicinity of.
Oh, that's not, you're talking about the IRS.
The IRS letter ruling, yeah.
Yes. The VA doesn't, they don't have a land program. The IRS, the way that they look at this particular part of the program is that as long as we're making changes that are commensurate with changes that we've made in the past and following a trend that we've set in the past and making the changes to respond to market conditions, they don't have a problem with that. If we started tinkering with anything significant in the way we run the program, then we would have to go and get a private letter ruling from them. Just for your edification, this program was the only one of its kind in the country, and it was grandfathered when the 86 Tax Reform Act went into effect. They grandfathered this program, but they grandfathered it with a provision that we would continue to operate it in the same manner that we operated it in the past. So anytime we're thinking about a major change in how we operate it or who participates, we have to consult the IRS about that to make sure we don't jeopardize our tax-exempt issuance status.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve item number 3. Next item on the agenda is number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. So some good news here again. This is with regard to resident room rates in the Texas Veterans Home Program. As you know, we review those rates annually to see whether or not we need to change the rates for the period from March through February of each year. Again, I have a table that has a history of the rates over the past 10 years. And as you can see, it reflects the fact that we usually try to approach it with not changing the rates and holding them steady. So from 06 to 08, we were able to do that. From 09 to 12, we had to make some slight increases. But from 13 forward, we have held the rate steady. And in fact, last year, for the first time ever in the history of the program, we reduced rates. So I'm happy to say that we're not going to need to increase rates again this year. Unfortunately, we won't be able to decrease rates, but that was probably something that would happen very infrequently anyway. For informational purposes, the vet home staff does a sort of an ad hoc survey of other nursing home institutions around the state. And while it's only anecdotal, I think it does give some information that's interesting. For example, after taking into account the VA per diem that the non-70% service-connected disability veterans receive. So in other words, what we would consider the average resident in the home, that amount currently averages $100 a day. And so if you look at the average room rate across the state for a semi-private room, it's about $150 a day now. So that means if you take the rate that we're charging our veterans, which is $143, and you subtract the average per diem they receive, they're only paying $43 a day to stay in the home versus $150 if they were in another home that wasn't like ours. So if it's an Alzheimer room, those are averaging about $160 a day. So even then, our residents are only paying $57 a day if they're in an Alzheimer's room. So
$1,200 to $1,500 a month.
Basically,
What a deal.
yes, it's about like paying rent. Yeah,
What a
but
deal. That's
but you
great.
get everything.
That's
Yes, yeah. It's a great program, and it's even more enhanced when you think about this, because those rates that we charge include their medications, and that is not the way it is in any other nursing home. You have to pay your own medication. So it's a great program, and again, part of the reason that we're able to do this is because our staff here does a great job holding costs down, keeping the operators accountable for the operations, and I'm sure that will continue too. So I'm recommending that we leave the resident room rates in the homes unchanged for the period March 2017 through February 2018. I'm happy to answer any questions.
How much of a waiting list do we have, Rusty? Any?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. Maybe
Mr.
John Berkeley
Mr.
could
Berkeley to-
answer
It
that.
varies by home. Some homes have no waiting list, some have as many as 40 to 50. Just depends on the locations. Big Spring, we have plenty of room. Let's get a Big Spring, so.
And what's the valley like, do you know? McAllen?
They're running about 155 out of 160 capacity. El Paso's about the same range as well.
So there's room.
Pardon me?
There's room.
Yes, but a lot of times it depends on, we may have, in a semi-private room, we have one female available and everybody on your wait list is a male.
I see.
So that's where the challenge is, or you may have room available in the Alzheimer's unit, but you don't have someone who's waiting for the Alzheimer's unit. So that's usually where the openings occur.
And these are semi-private or private rooms?
We have both. The
Both.
majority of our rooms are semi-private.
Okay. All right.
What are the homes with the biggest wait lists?
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, it's Kathy Johans, Program Administrator for the Texas State Vet Homes, and Floresville has our largest waiting list. And they usually stay right about 158 to 160, and their capacity is 160.
I move approval. That's great.
A second.
I think there's going to be objections on this one. Motion is made and seconded and carried unanimously to approve item number 4. Next item on the agenda is number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is a non-voting item. I wanted to put this on the agenda for informational purposes only. So for over 20 years, we have contracted with City Mortgage to provide our loan origination, servicing, and master servicing platform in the Veterans Housing Assistance Program. It's been a great collaborative relationship with them. However, in mid-November of last year, city reps unofficially informed me that they had decided that they were going to exit the master servicing business. And consequently, they did not intend to renew our contract, which expires at the end of this year, December 31st, 2017. After they notified their internal VLB master servicing team earlier this month, then they subsequently submitted formal written notification to us that they're not going to renew. We've been working with them for many, many, many years, over 20 years, and we've developed a really highly complex loan origination and servicing platform with them. Not just the master servicing they do, but the loan origination and everything that goes along with that, including pooling loans, selling them into the secondary market, a lot of different services they provide. So it's going to be a big hole for us to fill. But we've contracted with a very highly qualified consultant that has extensive and direct BLB-related experience. This individual actually was the lead rep on our program with City Mortgage. They eliminated his position and several other middle management positions when they made this decision. We've contracted with him to help us to develop an RFP to identify the universe of qualified loan origination, servicing, master servicing providers, and then to work with us to evaluate the responses to the RFP, select the most qualified and cost-effective provider, and then manage the transition process from City to the new provider. This is something that's going to take a long time, and it's not something that happens overnight. We are targeting to complete the evaluation process and the selection of a provider or providers by July 1st of this year, and then we're going to try to complete the transition process by September 30th, so that gives us a cushion of 3 months to take care of any issues that arise. It's an aggressive, in my opinion, it's an aggressive timeline, but we're working hard. We've already had meetings. We've got biweekly calls to go over the issues that come up. I think we're very close to having the RFP ready to hit the street. I've got a draft of it, and I'm reviewing the scope now. So I'm not asking you for any action. I'm just informing you that this is an issue. It's a major issue. It's something that we have to make sure we're right on, because whoever comes in is going to have to invest quite a bit of money for systems and things like that. And you know, we're forging a really long-term relationship. So I just wanted you to know that it's happening. We're taking it very seriously. We've worked with Ann and others in the agency to put together what we think is the appropriate team to approach getting this done, getting it done in the most efficient, cost-effective manner possible, as well as moving it along as quickly as possible. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Why are they doing it?
They're exiting the master servicing business. Their cost of capital exceeds what they make on. It's not an extremely profitable business, and frankly, I think one of the main reasons is that they used to have a huge branch network in Texas, and they originated a lot of the loans themselves. They no longer have that network. They got out of that business quite a while ago. So all the loans that are originated are through correspondent relationships. So they're not making any money on originating loans.
Servicing fee that we were paying them.
We pay a master servicing fee as a flat fee per loan. And it's
Not a percentage or,
no,
okay.
no. The servicing gets that's typically 25 basis points.
Yes.
That's industry standard for
Right.
anybody. The master servicing is specialized services.
So what's gonna happen with all the loans that they have?
They will transfer to the new entity when they come in.
That's a huge number.
Yes, many, many thousands of loans. The transition itself is a very, very significant undertaking. That's why I think it's important to have the person that we've contracted with, because he's been there, he's done this, he knows how it needs to be done, and he knows the other players too.
And will it be another, also be a master, a fee basis instead of a percentage?
We're going to allow them to bid in several different ways so we can pick the best one.
When was the last time that the VLB did something of this sort, transitioning from?
Well, in the land program, we did this in '07 because we used to service everything in-house. And then we went through this process then in '07 and selected Dove and Mule DMI in Chicago. This relationship has been in effect for maybe 30 years, well over 20, 25 years. So since I've been here, servicing for the housing program has never shifted, no. And it's a very big deal.
Does the consultant we retained have a high level of confidence that we'll be able to source somebody by the summer in terms of
Yes.
interested parties that could take over?
Yes. Two issues there. I think that until we get the responses, we won't know for sure. But our preference, of course, would be to have a turnkey relationship like we do with City, where they do everything. We don't know and won't know till the RFP responses come back. We know there are some that can do it, not many. You know, Bank of America can do it. There are some others, but we don't know if they'll be interested. So we're going to have to devise the RFP such that it could be bid in parts. So, you know, one entity could just bid for the origination, another for the master servicing. So we just don't know at this point. However, I think he's confident that we'll find a firm or a set of firms to do it. The only issue that I think is a little bit unclear is how long is it actually going to take the transition to happen once we get it started. And a lot of that will probably be systems related. Moving from a city system to whatever the new system is, you know, that's sort of a wild card. But we'll get it done. Might be December the 30th, but we'll get it done.
You have to keep it in-house. Is that an option?
No. To build the platform would be very, very expensive. And, you know, these platforms that these companies have, they're built because they're doing it for multiple entities, so they can spread the cost across there. If you're just building it for one program, it would be extremely cost preventative.
This relates to servicing too, right, Rusty? So are the folks who hold, who currently pay City for servicing of the loan, at what point will they be informed of the transition, and how will that operate?
Well, to be clear, the servicing, so the way the program works is whoever originates the loan gets the servicing. And some entities don't want the servicing, but they want the money, so they will sell the servicing up to City. So a great deal of the servicing, even though City's not originating the loans, they are buying the servicing. There's a
Continue to do that?
no. We will have to buy them out of the servicing unless they decide that they don't want to charge us for it. That's a decision that their capital markets group has to make, and they have not made yet. We will either leave some of the servicing with them, not the master servicing. That will all move out. But the actual loan servicing, we're going to move everything to the new entity. We may have to pay, or the new entity may have to pay to take the servicing off the city's books. But everything will move. There's a process. There are letters that have to be sent, and there are form letters that are required to be sent to the borrowers that notify them of what's happening. That process has not kicked off yet, and until we have the new entity selected, we can't really do that anyway.
All right, thank you.
If no further questions, this being a non-action item, we can jump to the next item on the agenda, which is number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, for the record, this also is a non-action item. This is a quarterly investment report related to the fixed income portfolio of the Veterans Land Board. We put it on the agenda at the request of the state auditors. I'll just briefly go through the executive summary and touch on the numbers. As you know, third quarter GDP was a big number, it's 3.5% after only increasing 1.4% in the second quarter. And it was the best performance in 2 years, a really big number. That was primarily reflected by changes in non-residential fixed investment, personal consumption expenditures, private inventory investment, federal government spending, and exports. And it was partly offset by decreases in residential fixed investment and an increase in imports. Also, during the period, the unemployment rate remained at 4.7%, which was unchanged. Fed policy also was unchanged during the quarter. They left the Fed funds rate at 0.25 to 0.50. They started talking about increasing that rate. Chairman Yellen in August started talking about laying the case for an increase in rate hikes based on incoming economic data. And as we now know, they eventually did increase that rate by 25 basis points in December. As far as our portfolio is concerned, the duration of the portfolio went down from 5.95 to 5.8 years during the period. Our target is 3.5 to 4 years. That varies. The actual duration varies on how much short-term paper is in the portfolio, which is tied directly to debt service payment dates in June and December, so that fluctuates. As far as the portfolio itself is concerned, if you look at the third page of the report, you'll see that the total return for the quarter was basically flat. We had a negative return of 0.06%, so 6 basis points. The total return year to date is a healthy 4.19%. The yield at the beginning of the quarter was 1.65. It increased slightly to 1.69. And compared to the benchmark in the table 2 on that page, you'll see the benchmark also was down about the same, 4 to 5 basis points. So we moved in line with the benchmark. But our total return at 4.19 is significantly higher than the benchmark at 1%. And then our 1-year total return is 3.97% versus 0.7 for the benchmark. Again, nothing unusual about the returns. I think you saw some rumblings about interest rates going up, so that's going to have some negative impact because it's a 100% fixed income portfolio. I would suspect, I haven't seen the numbers yet for December, but I would suspect that the third quarter will probably have a negative return since we had the Fed raise rates and we had that huge push up in the 10-year Treasury rate also during the period, but don't know exactly what those numbers are yet. Again, it's a non-action item, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
None for me.
Great annual return.
Thank you very much.
That being a non-action item, we can jump to the next item on the agenda, number 7, stated.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Charlotte Mumford. There are no appeals before the board today.
That's good.
There being no appeals, this is a non-voting item. We can jump to the next item on the agenda, number 8, as stated.
There were 9 tracts offered for sale during the forfeited online bidding period of December the 5th, 2016 through July the 24th, 2017. We received a total of 124 bids, resulting in 8 high bids. Staff is requesting the board award all high bids that meet qualifications for the land program. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Didn't lose any money on any of them? No, obviously not.
No, sir.
Good.
Yeah.
Is that a non-action item, or is that a?
This is actually a voting item to approve
Okay.
the staff
All right.
recommendation.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve item number 8. Next item is number 9.
Staff is requesting the board take forfeiture action on the resolutions before you, except accounts where sufficient funds are received to avoid that action. 17 accounts are being presented for forfeiture action today. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve item number 9. Next item on the agenda is number 10.
Staff is requesting the board take action on the resolution before you. The resolution lists accounts to be considered for order for sale action today. These 12 accounts will become the tracks for the next forfeited land sale. We're requesting the board's authority to pull any account that fully reinstates prior to that sale date. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve said item. Next item on the agenda is number 10.
Staff is requesting that the board set the next quarterly electronic forfeited land sale bidding period to begin March the 6th, 2017, with a bidding deadline of April 25th, 2017 at 5 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded, and carried unanimously to approve item number 11. To be clear, I apologize, it wasn't 10. Next item on the agenda is number 12. Thank you.
Morning, gentlemen. I'm Bill McLemore, the Assistant Executive Secretary of the Veterans Land Board, for the record. What you have before you, of course, is our current quarterly production report for land, home improvement loans. And it shows that we are still on track with land and home improvement loans. Significant decrease in home loans. Obviously, that's been impeded by the housing loan market concerns and the federal rate increase on interest rates. I think the good news here is that we, compared to where we were this time last year, we're on track to meet our goals this year, and we are certainly ahead of where we were last year in all of both land, home improvement loans. One area of some concern that we have is our loan closing time. We were trying to get an average of 30 days. We're a little above that, but we're moving in the right direction. We expect by the end of the year we'll certainly be near that point. Also, on mitigating losses, we have a real goal of, if we intend for this to be a benefit for veterans, we want it to end up being a benefit, not a liability in terms of forfeiture or foreclosure, losing land. So we have a pretty high goal set to try to restore that, either by having the veteran to be able to restore the loan or sell the loan, and with us assisting in trying to get another veteran to be able to buy that property. We're a little lower than where we would like to be at this time. It's about 54%, but this is a continuing saga throughout the year. We ended up last year at about 80% or 75% of those loans restored. We think we'll still meet that goal this year. Okay, thank you very much.
For the update, Bill. That being a non-action item and there being no further business before the board, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the microphone snafu. That'll be a budget request, right?